looking even more worn out. He was a man who was fixated with a ghost from the past, attempting to battle a foe who wasn't even present in the room but was instead residing in his mind via the screen of a smartphone. The ethics of such an attack were questioned by the industry, but 50 Cent supporters said that if you began the fight, anything was fair game in the hip-hop culture. The Harris family's battle became a warning about the perils of online rivalry and the ease with which the distinction between truth and performance may be blurred. The veracity of the second round of disclosures, which concentrated on purported text conversations from years earlier. Even their most devoted fans started to doubt Harris' marriage due to the intense criticism felt by the viewers was almost as important as the family's sense of betrayal as the ideal, indestructible marriage was replaced by one of lies, secrets, and long-standing grudges. 50 Cent was always there to thwart T-Doy's attempts to recover his kingdom. Make it obvious that T's complete submission was the only way this could end by tripping him with another piece of the past. Investors were allegedly bailing out of T.I.'s planned initiatives as a result of the emotional problems that had now spread to the commercial realm. The Harris legacy was being gradually erased out of fear that the controversy would permanently damage anything connected to his brand, leaving left an unvarnished and exposed core that could not be concealed by elaborate music videos or insightful interviews. Twists were now about the methodical ruin of a man's entire life's work rather than simply the secret night. The public's reaction to the drama was a mix of curiosity and terror. It had gotten to the point where even it was said that Jay-Z had contacted T to advise him to be quiet and wait for the storm to pass, but T's pride prevented him from doing so. Be silent when his wife's name was being brought up. This disobedience only served to strengthen 50 Cent's position as he enticed T into his dignity was further undermined by deeper and more humiliating public interactions. The family was now a home, split against itself, with the parents and kids caught up in a conflict they didn't comprehend, unable to provide them the safety they so much needed. And the cycle of suffering and humiliation in public appeared to infinite. And when the story progressed to the next stage, the question was no longer whether the marriage would endure, but if when the dust settled on this disastrous sequence of events, would there be anything left of T's career? As the clock crept down to what many thought would be the last, most catastrophic leak of them all, the world waited impatiently. One that pledged to put an end to the discussion permanently and leave only the wreckage of a once powerful monarchy. Following this, the famous feud reached its peak when 50 Cent released what many saw as the last psychological bomb, which consisted of a number of location tags and dated receipts that purportedly showed him and Tiny in the same opulent hotel on a night when T was. This discovery was like a physical blow to the Harris family and its members when they were on tour outside of the nation. When he realized the King of the South had been outplayed in his own backyard, he went into public mourning for his own reputation. There were rumors that the couple and their legal teams had a secret meeting, because the possibility of a well-publicized divorce was no longer merely a rumor, but an impending fact that threatens to divide their enormous wealth and their intricate business hobbies. T.I.'s sense of betrayal was now made worse by the public character of his demise as each rumor blog and Friends, did you ever think that 50 Cent, the hip-hop industry's oldest and most deadly player, would deliver a bomb that would not only terminate a career, but would ruin a whole house and a relationship that had lasted for decades? Due to a newly deleted Instagram account, the internet is presently on fire. Post that has sparked a conflict between New York and Atlanta, a conflict that is more than just a rivalry and directly into the bedroom. Consider this. On the one hand, T is getting ready for his greatest career comeback. Conversely, King Harris, his son, commits the worst error by arriving late with 50 Cents mother's grave into the mix, an offense for which the 50 Cent vocabulary offers no mercy. However, the actual 50 Cent allegedly had a covert night with T's wife, Tiny Harris, according to allegations and photos that abruptly became viral. The evidence will soon be made public. Is 50 Cent really the target, or is this simply a rumor? To make matters worse, T got married. Some claim that T2I has gone back and pleaded with 50 Cent. Fifth, please stop. Don't include my family in this, but does 50 Cent ever stop? In today's video, we will talk about all those reports, the reality of those photographs that were released, and the quiet fear that has led T.I. to his knees. Prepare yourselves because we're about to reveal the secret night that 50 Cent posted. Picture. This fight has evolved into a personal devastation rather than just a rap battle. Incident has completely shocked everyone. Even Diddy and J-C. Will Tiny and T's relationship weather this storm? The narrative is only getting started, so stay tuned. The tension surrounding following the internet's obsession with the stolen photos that implied a relationship between 50 Cent and Little that neither side was prepared to affirm or refute. As word spread about these pictures, the mood according to reports, the Harris family's defiant attitude gave way to a terrifying quiet that gravely alarmed those closest to the pair. T.I., who had based his whole reputation on the notion of ruling the South, found himself in a situation where a man who was an expert in psychological warfare was methodically destroying street credibility. Fans were taken aback when they saw the story change from a straightforward conflict inside the music industry to a deliberate attack on the sanctity of a long-term marriage. T has handled controversies like a seasoned veteran for years. However, because it touched on the most personal parts of his life, this circumstance seemed completely different. The photos that came to light presented a picture of the past that appeared to go against the popular perception of a strong family. And this was the pinnacle of drama for the general audience. Observers noticed that T seemed obviously rattled during his most recent public appearances. His usual assurance replaced by a feeling of urgency that alluded to the personal risks involved. 50 Cent's decision to use these pictures as weapons wasn't simply seeking victory in a rap war. His goal was to destroy the Harris legacy's foundations beyond repair. Given the seriousness of the charges, the hip-hop culture as a whole responded with stunned surprise, become clear to everyone following this story on social media. Industry insiders muttered that Tiny, who had always served as a liaison between T and the numerous disputes he discovered, was under tremendous stress due to the weight of these disclosures. Himself in. The strain got almost intolerable when the attention suddenly turned to her own personal background, resulting in a stillness that only served to satisfy the tabloids and gossip columns' appetites each time the internet rejuvened. There were additional hypotheses regarding what transpired on those said evenings in the past and if T was cognizant of the entire scope of the conversations between his wife and his biggest enemy. There was a noticeable emotional struggle as T had to make amends. His wife's private reality is being dragged through the muck of public opinion despite his public desire for respect. Anonymous family friends reported a home life that had turned into a pressure cooker, with each phone notification feeling like a possible danger to an already brittle peace. T felt betrayed by more than simply the rumors of a secret past, but about 50 Cent's blatant disclosure of this knowledge to millions of admirers, so converting them into jurors about his personal life. Public opinion was sharply split, and some believing that by poking the bear for years, T had sought this degree of scrutiny, while others think that going too far in marriage and the unwritten rules that formerly governed the streets were broken by family. And the stakes kept rising as the discussion raged on, and it became evident that this was a war of attrition rather than a contest for musical dominance. With the winner bank story of the ideal family had been supplanted by a gritty film tragedy, decided by who could withstand the greatest public humiliation. Where every social media post was viewed as a secret message, every action was examined, and every quiet was examined. Tiny had continued to be the center of attention in her own right, but the sheer amount of unfavorable attention was driving her to the edge. People who had watched the family on reality TV for years projects observed a sharp shift in their attitude. The light-hearted joking and fun had vanished. By a stoic restrained tension that said the disagreement had gone beyond the boundaries and the gap was far deeper than anybody dared to acknowledge. Of amusement and ventured into the realm of actual trauma. And the effect was apparent in the way local Atlanta radio personalities and club DJs where there was a tangible fear of being on the wrong side of this conflict. And they were reluctant to even reveal the names of the parties involved. since it was widely known that 50 Cent played for keeps and that, when he had a target in his sights, he would stop at nothing. When rumors surfaced, the situation reached a fever pitch. They claimed that it had tried to contact business partners and business titans to settle the dispute in an effort to preserve his image before the harm was irreversible. But such diplomatic endeavors suffered to crumble in the face of 50 Cent's unrelenting trolling, as he kept posting and removing items that kept the focus squarely on the most difficult aspects of the Harris marriage. As T battled, the emotional toll was becoming apparent. To keep his balance while his wife was being exploited as a pawn in a game that he thought he was losing. The community was left to speculate about whether the Harris marriage would be the last victim of this conflict, and rumors of a possible split started to circulate. Traction in ways they had never experienced before. The betrayal felt profound, not only because of the rumors, but also because of the public awareness of it all, transforming a personal tragedy into a global show that capitalized on the fears and the past. Tiny's and T.I.'s errors in navigating the storm. The Harris camp's lack of a coherent reaction simply fueled the flames, allowing the internet more space to conjecture, create, and judgment. It was a perfect instance of a high-profile collapse unfolding in front of millions of cameras in real time. The smartphones witnessing a hip-hop power couple's breakup. The nuanced feelings it was about the survival of an identity that went beyond the usual celebrity rumors. The embarrassment was not only for T, but also for everyone who had looked up to the family as a symbol of success, resiliency, and development. The story became increasingly twisted with each day that went by without a conclusion. New images from decades ago are being unearthed and reframed as proof of a betrayal that was concealed in plain sight. This public broadcast of dirty laundry had a profound psychological impact and altered the public's perception of the family dynamic as a whole. As the charges persisted, the distinction between fact and fiction became increasingly hazy, making them feel exposed and vulnerable in a way that was wholly foreign to them. Started to blur, making it harder to distinguish between what was actually harmed and what was just a result of a deliberate slander campaign. As his attempts to demand respect were met, he found himself in a difficult situation with little choices. With ridicule and the continual reappearance of the same history he wished to forget, he had long been regarded as a guy who was capable of managing himself in every circumstance. But competing with a rival who didn't respect the limits of the issue of privacy was quite different. And the family was split as some family members allegedly encouraged T to adopt a more assertive legal position, while some thought that any more interaction would merely feed 50 Cent's fury. The internal pressure was starting to show itself in ways that made the stress emanating from their home tough to ignore. The drama played out with such intensity that it seemed like a planned production while everyone watched. But the suffering, the rage, for those who were experiencing it, the frustration was all too genuine. Every public encounter was now an atmosphere of constant fear was created by the premeditated performance and the possibility of disclosure of every intimate moment. The supporters were torn between their love for the players and their disgust at the attack's blatant callousness of both men and their disgust at the means by which they are destroying each other. Once characterized by its victories and capacity